Welcome back to the #Callie channel. I am here back in my bedroom just like last week, except I'm by myself. I actually wanted to do something a little bit different than our normal just kind of playing around. I wanted to actually spotlight my current foster that I'm taking care of. I actually introduced her in a previous video whenever I was making dog dinners, especially for them. I made some for Sandy as well, but I do feel like she hasn't had very much screen time since we started the channel, whereas the rest of the dogs and the cats have been all over the place. I think part of the reason that Miss Sandy hasn't really been getting involved is mostly just because she's old. We know that she's at least 10 years old. She's honestly probably closer to 15, and she is blind. So getting around and running around with the other two dogs isn't exactly her cup of tea. She mostly likes to just lay in her bed and hang out and maybe occasionally get up to stretch her legs. And I did find out just this week that she actually enjoys wearing little dog sweaters or coats. Not ones that are too intrusive. I don't think having her put her head through something and wear it all around her body, I don't think that would be very comfortable for her. But just these little ones that I have made in the past seem to be pretty comfortable for her, and she likes them, and it's super, super cold outside, so it works out keeping her warm. I do actually already have a ton of dog sweaters that are Oliver's or Lola's, or that have come from the rescue for some of the different fosters, and Sandy actually has some that she's worn too. But she hasn't really had anything made specifically for her. And because we know she came to us a little bit rough, she hasn't exactly always had it very easy, I kind of want to do something pretty special for her. So I'm going to make her very own pretty dog jacket sweater for her to wear when she is chilly and wants to be cozy. I will say, I filmed this intro as I was about to edit it, and I realized that I had not filmed this yet. So you're gonna notice that here in a few seconds, my outfit and my hair are gonna just completely change. So, give that a few seconds. Don't let it alarm you. I promise everything's okay. Alrighty, so first thing that we wanna do is go ahead and cut out the fabric for Sandy's new outfit. So I've got it here. And it is actually this pink arrow fabric that I've just kind of had lying around for a while. So easy first step, we just need to lay it out. And then for the lining, we're going to do just this cotton flannel pink fabric. It is still kind of cold out. It's not looking like it's about to get any warmer over here. So we want her to be cozy. Of course, Miss Lola wants to sit on the fabric. And Sandy is sitting in her bed being a perfectly good girl while we make her a new outfit. All right, Lola, I'm gonna need you to go over here with your brother. Thank you. Okay, let's see. So let's go ahead and lay one fabric right on top of the other. And honestly, I really need to iron these fabrics. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If your fabrics are super, super wrinkly like mine, like if you've got all of these creases and wrinkles, you probably want to go ahead and iron it because it's just going to sew so much nicer if it's a smooth pattern. So I will be right back. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and we are back, and we are going to go ahead and cut out the pattern for her little outfit here. Now, I've actually made a ton of dog sweaters in my lifetime. This is actually one that I've made in the past. It's a really simple design, and you can go ahead and use Velcros to attach it. It's also just really comfortable for the dogs. So far this has been one that Sandy has really enjoyed. So I think we can go ahead and stick with that pattern for now. Maybe we can add some flair a little bit later on. So we're just gonna go ahead and cut around. Now, if you actually want to do this with your dog, one thing to note for this pattern in particular is you want this to be the diameter of their rib cage here, the largest part of their rib cage. And then this top part's going to need to be large enough to go around their neck.
without making it uncomfortable and not getting too much in the way of any collars. So let's go ahead and finish cutting this out. I actually have to work really fast on this because Neko's favorite activity is ruining my sewing projects. So getting this cut out in a very fast amount of time is kind of imperative at this point. So we're just gonna cut this out here. The sweater she has been wearing is actually just a little bit big for her. So I think cutting out this much is going to give us plenty for a seam allowance and make it fit her just a little bit better than this blue one does. All right, now that we're done with the majority of the fabric, we can go ahead and move this out of our way, shorten our workspace, and go around the top here. Okay, so next step on this, we want to turn it inside out because the parts that you want on the outside are actually going to be on the inside while we're working on sewing it. So we'll piece this back together like so. Okay, and then once we've lined our fabric back up with our outsides on the inside, we're going to go ahead and pin around, and then we can go in with our sewing machine and sew this outer edge, going ahead to leave just a little bit open so we can flip it back inside out. And I see Sandy's getting excited. She likes to get up and stretch her legs every now and then. Maybe she'll come over, but I don't know. Sandy! Oh, hi, Sandy. How are you? Good girl. You get back in your bed. Okay. Well, let's get to pinning. I think we have had Sandy for about 1 month now. And when she came to us, she is probably the first foster that I've ever had that I was concerned might actually die in our care. She was looking pretty rough. Like, you could definitely tell the girls lived a long and probably not super easy life. When the rescue brought her over to us, all we really knew was that she didn't smell super good, and she definitely had a yeast infection on her skin. That was about it. We knew that she was probably kind of old, probably at least 10. I think it was pretty clear in the beginning that she's going to be a long-term foster, but I also don't think it was as apparent how much help Sandy was going to need. Now, very shortly after she was dropped off with us, we started noticing that when she would walk around, she'd kind of bump into things a little bit. So at first I thought, well, she's in a new place, so it's not out of the ordinary for her to still need to find her way around. It's unusual that she would go as far as to actually bump into things. So that was when we were concerned. We pretty quickly contacted the rescue and said, hey, we think she might actually be blind. And you know, we had just had a few concerns about her general health, considering that she was really lethargic. She didn't really want to eat a whole lot. She just wanted to lay in her bed and do pretty much nothing. So after talking to the rescue, we determined that it was a good idea to go ahead and take her to one of the vets that we were familiar with. Now, at her first vet appointment, we found out that not only did she have a yeast infection on her skin, but she also had a bacterial infection as well as that yeast infection. And that bacterial infection went over some of the open sores on her body from some of the itching she was doing from the yeast infection. She had a ton of that really aggressive bacteria in her left ear, to the point where when the doctor actually flipped her ear inside out, I had to step away because the smell through my mask was really overpowering. So you can imagine this was probably not super comfortable for Miss Sandy here. The vet also noticed that Miss Sandy here had tick disease, so he prescribed her some antibiotics that would hopefully help with some of the infections that she was experiencing, as well as the tick disease. But he wanted us to come back in a few weeks and make sure that those antibiotics were working and to see what steps we needed to take next, because obviously Sandy might need a little bit longer of a treatment plan considering how bad a shape she was in when she came to us. So then a couple of weeks go by. She's been taking her medicine. She's been doing a great job. And she's honestly getting a little bit more energy. She's getting up to walk around a little bit more. You can tell she's starting to get more familiar with our house. So even though we found out that she can't really see, she was starting to be able to get around our house just because she was getting more familiar with the surroundings. We always made sure to keep some of her beds in the living room and in the bedroom just to make sure there was some place that she had that she could go that she was familiar with, that smelled like her, and she could go there that would be comfortable, a safe space for her. I'll be honest, our other dogs and cats haven't really taken much notice to her. Every now and then they'll go up and sniff her. Lola will kind of go up and act like she wants to get her attention, but mostly I think they've realized that she's just kind of an old girl and she's not going to get up and wrestle around with them or anything. But at that second vet appointment, the doctor did notice that her infections were getting better, her ears were getting better. He went ahead and flushed it, applied another topical ointment, and I believe we're going to have him do that again at her third vet appointment. However, we were interested in what was going to happen with her eyes. We were really wondering if those eyes were viable, if she could ever see again. So the vet wanted us to take her to an animal eye clinic here in the Oklahoma City metro and have them take a look at her, because he said she definitely has cataracts. But we could give her cataract surgery provided that her retinas have no deterioration. Basically what he was saying is if her retinas were bad, then giving her cataract surgery might provide her temporary sight, but her retinas were going, she's going to be blind anyway. And unfortunately, when we took her to the animal eye doctor, they did say that her retinas do have a lot of deterioration, so cataract surgery wouldn't really benefit her very much. And she's probably just going to be a blind old girl, and that's okay. Well, now that we've got the base of the sweater pinned, we're going to go ahead and sew around, leaving a little gap over probably in one of the corners just so we can turn it back inside out whenever we are ready and see how it fits her. Just going to go ahead and wrap it around and see what she thinks. Then we can start adding some details and some final touches. All right, so it is now the next day. As we were sewing our hems and seams last night, all of the dogs fell very asleep and were snoring quite loudly. So that audio was not great, but we got the base of the coat done. It fits her very well. But we're going to add some pizzazz to it before it's finished. So I've made a pocket here. And we're just going to sew this onto the back. We're also going to give it a nice little fur trim by just taking this fur edge here, folding it over, and then we'll sew it down. We'll do the same thing up here by the collar, and then it should be all ready for her. All right, and with those final details added, we have some nice fur to spice up her look, give her a nice cozy attire. We are actually expecting a little bit of a snowstorm in the next couple of days, so I think this will be really nice for her. And we just have Velcro enclosures, so it's really easy on and off for the dogs. And all we have to do is wrap it around her midsection and her neck, secure the Velcros, and make sure they're not too tight. You still want to make sure she can breathe and it's not squishing her collar into her neck. There you go. How do you feel? Well, you look divine, darling. I absolutely have adored having her as a foster. A lot of the times people overlook older dogs just because they want a young dog that they can grow with, but I think a lot of people tend to ignore the older dogs. Like when I adopted Oliver and Lola, they were both adults. Oliver was already 5 years old. I think Lola was 3. And some of my favorite fosters that we've had have been older dogs. We're actually going to be dog sitting one of my older fosters, I think next month, and I'm kind of excited for you guys to meet her. We're probably still going to have Sandy for a little bit, just until she gets adopted. She does have one more follow-up appointment with her vet, just to make sure that her ears, her skin, and everything are looking good, so that we know that she's going to be perfectly healthy for her new family. But we're expecting her to be ready for adoption here in the next week or so. If you or someone that you know is interested in adopting a dog in the Oklahoma City area, feel free to check out the All Paws Rescue website. I'll go ahead and link it down below. Sandy should be on there, as well as several other adoptable dogs, cats, even other small critters that you might not usually see at a traditional rescue. I may not be actually very good at making people clothes, but I do really enjoy making dog clothes, and somehow I'm decent at it. I'm glad you guys joined me for a little bit of time spotlighting Miss Sandy. She doesn't get to do a whole lot just because she is older, she's blind, she doesn't really feel like jumping around with the other 2 dogs, but we're glad to have her with us, and I like to make her feel kind of special sometimes. Definitely feel free to check in with us a little bit later this week. I've got a little bit of something up my sleeve for you guys, and always check us out on Tuesdays for our traditional uploads. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. Our social media handles are linked below.